their battle has ended.
You've got your revenge.
But their war is just beginning.
We've launched the missiles.
Now, to save the galaxy from total destruction,
The death toll could be in the millions.
two arch-enemies
You want to fight, mister? I will give you one.
face off in one final showdown
I don't intend to fight you, Captain. I intend to kill you.
on the next Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Welcome back to the depths of DS9. I am your intrepid host, Captain Fist, alongside Lieutenant Commander Gell, and it's time to go out in a blaze of glory. And if you like Michael Eddington, and very few human beings do, then you're going to dig this episode. If you like the Maquis, and I do, and only my opinion matters, then this is a great episode for you. Honestly, this is a great episode anyways. It's Blaze of Glory, folks, and, you know, we're... Basically, the operative idea going into this episode was we have to set up so many plot threads and begin to pay off the incoming Dominion War. So it's time to wrap up some plot threads first and give them some definitive finality. And do we ever get that in Blaze of Glory? This has everything. Great effect shots, great action, spaceship stuff, DS9, a little bit of DS9 humor in the B-plot. It has everything. It has Cisco screaming at people. Always great. Cisco punching people in the face unprovoked. Folks, it's Blaze of Glory. How do you like this one, Taryn Gell, and do you remember it much?
I do. I remember it well. Looking back at it, though, a little bit of a spoiler for what's coming ahead. But this episode had kind of a budget.
It had a budget, and you know what? It's important, actually, more important than I recall, for the setup for the Dominion War. Like, it's way more important than I realized. They're basically trying to head off the remaining Maquis from really kicking off the Dominion War festivities and causing essentially a mass genocide before the Dominion War formally kicks off. And some of the events here will be referred to later as the Dominion War does kick off proper. So basically, Taryn, can you give us sort of a synopsis of what in general this episode is about?
Quick synopsis. We get a message. Oh, first, we don't want to talk about the sitting down to dinner.
Well, just the summary. Like, okay.
The summary? We're trying to stop a war from happening, and the Maquis, or specifically Eddington, is the key to stopping that war.
That's the idea, is the Maquis are on the ropes. They're almost dead. We figure after For the Uniform, the Maquis had pretty well been put in the toy chest, never to emerge again, but they're still around. I mean, there was no sense that the Maquis were done, and so this is sort of their last hurrah. They are going to go out, as the title suggests, in a blaze of glory, and their plan, apparently, is they had access to a whole bunch of basically biomechanical warheads, whatever, all these horrible war crimes items. And yet, when they were fighting the Cardassians, the Klingons, it turns out, were arms trading with the Maquis. And the Klingons possess what?
Cloaking devices.
So the idea is, well, they've got biological warheads, they've got chemical weapons, they've got horrible war crimes items. Let's strap some cloaking devices to those, launch them as missiles, and kick off the Dominion War a little bit early, shall we? That's basically the idea. It's a great setup for an episode, really. It's a fantastic setup for an episode. We start off, though, as a lot of the heavier episodes on DS9 often do, with a little bit of humor. We open up with the Ciscos. We have Jake finally back in an episode, and Nog makes an appearance. And they're sitting and chilling and having a little bit of food. They're having Nog's favorite human food. And what is that, Taryn?
Squid.
Squid. Of course it's squid. And as they're chowing down, I don't know if it's calamari or what it doesn't look like calamari to me, but they're having some squid regardless. And as they're chowing down, Nog says, "Hey, the sauce on this not calamari sure tastes familiar. Hey, the Cisco, what's this made out of? And hey, Taryn, what's it made out of?"
Pureed tube grubs.
Yes!
This sauce tastes very familiar.
Well, it should. It's puree of tube grubs.
Oh, tube grubs?
I figured if Nog is willing to eat squid, it's only fair that we try tube grubs. Besides, you said it was terrific.
That was before I knew what it was.
Eat. You need more meat on your bones.
And Jake immediately loses his appetite. This is a great way to start off, just with a little bit of humor, a little bit of levity, and then we get into Nog apparently now is working station security for the time being. I don't know how exactly that pertains to his cadet status, but he apparently has been stationed among the security detail. And as they're asking about it, he's sort of giving the polite responses. "Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. No, can't get too enough of it. Totally not about to slip my wrist tonight." Yeah. And Jake is like, "That's not what you said. What is that about?" And upon being pressed, Nog reveals that he's pressed. The Klingons are being Klingon, and he can't deal with them on account of he's negative 2'5".
That's gonna happen.
Yeah,
they don't even notice he's there.
Apparently, it's not a great gig being the bailiff of the Lollipop Guild, and so they keep looking over his head as if they have any other choice. Whenever he tells them to calm down, keep it to a light roar, stop with the mass stabbings, all the traditional Klingon regalia, and so Cisco gives him a little bit of advice. What's that advice?
The next time the Klingons give you attitude, do what a Klingon would do.
Do what Cisco would do.
Well, that too. That works. That's even better.
Wait, this is a very Cisco episode, by the way. He advises Nog to confront the Klingons. Does this qualify as charmicide, Taryn?
Oh, what? Telling Nog to go confront the Klingons?
Yeah, like if I tell a random homeless person to go do river dance on the subway train tracks in New York City, I'm going to be liable for their death. Would this constitute homicide?
Jake won't narc on him. I think he could get away with it.
Right. Although he is a narc, as we learned. Anyway, so that's kind of how we set up, and then who should show up in the middle of this little tete-a-tete about how Klingons are bloviating loud bastards, but one of the specific Klingons that he was complaining was a bloviating loud bastard, General Martok.
Yay.
And Nog takes the opportunity to say, "All right, that's it. I'm gonna..." He's like rolling up his sleeves. He's about to punch General Martok in the nose.
I mean the shins.
I love it. This is kind of cool on a few levels. Okay, we're reintroducing Jake. We're reintroducing Nog. And for the first time since Soldiers of the Empire, we're reintroducing General Martok, which is important because the last time we saw him, he was a failure as a man.
Yeah.
So it's important to kind of, okay, we need to establish, all right, General Martok gets back on the horse. He has the respect of his men. There is a Klingon presence on the station. This is it's a light B-plot, but I think it's a necessary light B-plot. It's actually establishing that, okay, time is moving forward. Klingons are still here. Martok is still in control. Nog and Jake still here. All this stuff needed to happen, in my opinion. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I think the way I look at it, it's setup. Everybody important is here.
Yeah.
And they're ready for, I don't know, something that might happen later.
Right. They're ready for the episode to start, basically.
Yeah.
And how exactly does that episode start? How do we get into the A plot?
Well, Martok comes in with a little message. One intended for someone named Michael.
Michael!
Hey, Michael. Just wanted to let you know we're all okay. Oh, right. We launched the missiles.
Yeah.
Captain, my crew and I were patrolling the Cardassian border. We intercepted a very disturbing message.
This is a Maquis code.
I was as surprised as you. I thought the Maquis were wiped out by Cardassia and their new Dominion allies, but it would appear I was mistaken.
Were you able to decode it?
Michael, I hope you get this message. We've launched the missiles. They should reach Cardassia in 13 days. It may not bring back our dead, but at least they'll have a lot of company.
We launched the missiles. It's clearly a message from the Maquis. It's for Michael. Michael Eddington, of course, is in custody. Gorsh, but I wonder who it's for. And so, and this would maybe be my only criticism, is that this is a little obvious. We learn a little later this is, spoiler alert, something of a ploy. As a ploy, as ploys go, kind of an obvious one. Would the Maquis, like, seriously have a message with this kind of pertinent info? They are a terrorist group! Would they have, oh yeah, we launched the evil biowarhead attack. We're gonna go ahead and start the World War 25 now. Hope this doesn't fall into the hands of the Federation. Okay, bye. Michael, address 2345 East Westingbird Lane. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's really obvious to me.
Like, they could have just written a postcard.
Or hired a skywriting company. You know what I mean? So, immediately, that leads the Cisco to do what?
Well, it's time to go see the man in question.
Dude,
that is after Worf and Dax come back from the Badlands.
Yes.
They at least bothered to go look for these missiles. But, of course, they're cloaked, so they didn't find anything. Also, they don't exist, so they didn't find anything.
Yeah, they sort out pretty quickly that the missiles have been launched, that they probably are attached to cloaking devices, and so it's going to be tough to find them. But they make the survey anyways, so that Worf can be in the episode for 1.5 lines.
Right.
And that's pretty much it. After that, Cisco realizes, okay, if we're going to do this, we kind of need to go to the person that was intended to receive the message. And that, of course, is Michael Eddington.
Mr. Eddington.
You missed this because you got up, but the freaking prison station looked so cool.
It's regular one.
Yeah. It's reused.
Yeah.
But it looked so freaking cool.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looked so great. And they reuse it, because why not? It looked boss. And so they show up, and very quickly they're like, hey, yo, I kind of got your mail on accident. Pew, here you go. And Michael Eddington plays coy, maybe a little bit too coy.
I believe that was intended for you.
Michael, I hope you get this message. We've launched the missiles. They should reach Cardassia.
Don't you want to hear the rest of it?
Why should I? It has nothing to do with me. Michael is a very common name.
True. But somehow I think you're the right one.
Guess again.
If those missiles hit Cardassia, it could start a war. Billions of people will be killed.
If you expect me to shed a tear, you're going to be disappointed. I used up all my tears when the Dominion slaughtered the Maquis. I sat here in this cell for 3 days and listened to the reports as they came in. In those 3 days, everyone and everything I cared about was wiped out.
I heard the same reports. It was a tragedy.
You pointed out he's still wearing the outfit he was arrested in.
Yeah, in his jail cell, it's like, what, the Federation didn't give him new clothes? It's been months. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, my read on that is he refused different clothes.
I guess.
Because, I mean, think about the whole delusion thing of him, of he thinks he's Mr. Freedom. He thinks he's Han Solo in Return of the Jedi. That's what he thinks. He thinks that he's Han Solo, so he's got the little Han Solo regalia on. He's got the little leather jacket on, right? He's got the boots. He's got the whole thing. He thinks he's really, really cool in that outfit. He thinks he's Mr. Renegade. And I think that was my read on it. Maybe I'm being charitable to the costume department who just wanted to reuse the outfit. But I find that interesting. I've always wondered, like, what are the uniforms in, like, a Federation prison?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I've ever seen one. Like,
I'm trying to think of, like, what was that episode of Enterprise where they were at Rurapente?
Oh, God.
Did they get uniforms then? That was a great episode, by the way, of Enterprise. I love that episode, but
I can't remember.
Yeah, they were at a prison colony there, and I cannot remember if they. You'll have to put some video from that episode up while we're talking about this to prove us wrong or right. I cannot, for the life of me, remember if they had their normal Enterprise uniforms or if they got a prison uniform as a result. But anyways, it's just one of those interesting kind of continuity things, and DS9's such a great show for that kind of stuff, because it's the show where we're taking, instead of constantly introducing a new alien species of the week, we're taking the alien species and the powers of the Alpha Quadrant that we already know, and even the Gamma Quadrant, and we are deepening them. And we are learning more about the Federation. We are learning more about the Klingons. We're learning more about the Vulcans, and on and on and on. This is one of the great selling points of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So what's the whole point of this? What is Sisko essentially proposing to Michael Eddington here?
He says, look, I'm sorry we can't help the Maquis and they're all dead.
Yeah.
But you can stop a war from happening in which more people will die. Yeah. And Eddington's pretty much like, I already lost everything I love. You can shove it.
Yep. Which
that's actually how the conversation ends. It's like, okay, yep, I'm staying here. Nope, nothing you can do can get me on that shuttle with you.
And then we cut away, and
he's on the damn shuttle.
He's on the runabout because, oh, right, I'm a freaking prisoner. I have no autonomy of movement. If Sisko wants to take me somewhere, he can take me somewhere. Did I mention this is a very Ben Sisko episode? Very Ben Sisko. Oh, you don't want to come with me? You're coming with me, prick. Very quickly, he's serving up food, which is what I love this exchange, by the way, about the food. This is a great little conversation about replicated food and the artificiality of the Federation compared to the Maquis, who obviously, like, how did the Maquis revolt start? People living a more rustic, rural life out in the colonies, growing their own food, right? It's people living out on the frontier, so what are they doing? They're growing their own food. They're not eating replicated garbage. And he's talking about how it's like, oh, it's nothing more than rejumbled food molecules. That's all it is. This
proteins and whatnot.
Yes. I love it. And what was it? It was curried chicken or something like that?
A curried chicken or something with carrots and...
Hipster food. Yeah. Hipster Federation. It is very Federation food sounding. And ultimately, he just pretty much gives up between having to eat it in handcuffs and the taste of the food. But it leads to this fantastic exchange between Sisko and Eddington about basically the artificiality of the Federation, long and short of it. Which is always the great stuff that we get in these Eddington, Coombe, Maquis episodes. It's kind of funny, like, Voyager had been on the air, what, a year or two by now? Something like that?
Yeah.
Because I think we're in 96, Voyager starts 94 or 95, somewhere in that range. So they're at least on the air a year. And dude, like, a year in, they had already dropped the Maquis stuff pretty much. Like, that went nowhere. The Maquis stuff in Voyager just went nowhere.
It was originally meant to separate the crew.
Yeah.
It's like, we're out here, and this is going to be a point of contention against, two factions trying to survive out in the Delta Project. It's dropped within the first season.
It just goes nowhere. You have the Seska stuff, which winds up dovetailing back into she's a Cardassian, and, like, it goes nowhere. And meanwhile, here's DS9 in like 3 or 4 different episodes, pays off the Maquis. Banger. Every single one of those episodes is a banger. The original one with Cal, like he's the original Eddington, right? And then they wind up replacing him with Eddington, and all the Eddington episodes are absolute bangers. I think that the Maquis stuff really, it leads us into the Dominion War, and to me, the Maquis arc is at least as satisfying as the Dominion War, which is going to come in the next couple of seasons. Talk about night and day between how Voyager handled this thing that was supposed to be a core plot conceit, and how DS9 handles what was in essence an incidental plot point that came up just to sort of get Cardassia on board with the Dominion and start the Dominion War. It's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, the difference good writing and a good production team makes. You have to have that vision, honestly. I don't know. How do you feel juxtaposing between how DS9 and Voyager handled it?
No, I mean, there's no comparison.
And of course, TNG did a Maquis thing too, but
like maybe 1-2 episodes.
One or two. I think they did the Space Native Americans.
Yeah.
Thing.
But there's no question DS9 did it so much better, because that just highlights the flaws of Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally they're part of the crew,
Yep.
and it doesn't matter.
Yep.
But here on DS9, it matters so much more.
Yep.
Because like I said, they dropped the whole Maquis thing within the first season. They decided to work together, and really there's only like some rebellion down the way, like maybe once in season 2, once in season 3.
Yep.
But it's just such a nothing burger.
Yeah, and it hurts a lot of characters on the show, I think. You know, honestly, because you were supposed to have them kind of split. Who was originally the Maquis crew members? It was Chakotay and B'Elanna Torres and
a few more.
Tuvok?
No. Tuvok was a double agent.
Okay.
Yeah, he was implanted into the Maquis.
Yeah. So there was a few different...
Chakotay had a funny joke about that, too. When it turns out that Siska's a Cardassian, Chakotay's like, was there anyone among my crew who wasn't a fucking spy?
Right? It's true, though. Man, of all the people who get screwed by that, it's Chakotay. Who winds up just... Man, his character just kind of flounders for year after year after year, and they never quite pay him off, really. He has some good episodes here and there, but just of all the crew, like, Chakotay, I think, got boned the hardest. And that's funny, because Robert Beltran was like a legit Hollywood star before he went into that show.
Exactly. And you know what? The character himself is pretty awesome. I like Chakotay.
It has a lot of potential, doesn't it? Like, a lot. He's renegade freedom fighter dude. And, now he's embedded with the Federation, but he's kind of got a level of parity with Janeway. And that's probably the problem. They didn't want Janeway to not be a girl boss long enough to actually kind of be cowed by Chakotay. So Chakotay consequently just becomes an even more boring Riker with a face tattoo.
Right.
It's a shame. Anyways, we're going off on... Folks, we're in the Badlands. That's where Sisko has taken Eddington to the Badlands. And, dude, the art design update to the Badlands. Let's talk about this.
It looks fantastic. Like I said, this episode had a budget.
Yeah, we saw the Badlands in For the Uniform, correct? I think it was For the Uniform. And it was different. It was kind of the same, but they had originally, in the original art design documents... All the concept sketches and concept paintings had the Badlands as having these huge pillars of fire all over, just these nexuses of fire. And apparently they help with like interference and sort of blocking communications and scanners, and that's one of the reasons that the Maquis use them, right?
Right.
And so finally, now that they had a little bit more time to put this together, they experimented with some different things, and they basically composited this crazy, like, they essentially created a wind funnel in like a contained box, and then they stuck a butane torch at the bottom and just fired it up into it, and it created like a tornado of fire.
Yeah.
Amazing! Right? Just amazing! That's how they created the effect, but dude, the effect looks incredible. I love this. This has to be said, dude. How do you feel about, like, it has, like I said earlier, it has kind of everything. It's got action, it's got effects stuff, but the visuals here, I feel, are really strong. Not just in the space segments and some of the action, but also later on when we get to some of the darker sets and stuff like that. Like, there's some visually and production value wise, this episode's tops. It looks good.
It looks very good. I mean, we've already mentioned the budget, but it's more than that. It feels like they actually went out of their way to actually put some detail into this episode.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just a throwaway thing.
Yep. But of course, as soon as they're in the Badlands, they realize that they're not alone.
No, the Jem'Hadar are out doing their, I don't know, patrols in the Badlands.
Random plot device patrol.
And Cisco decides, well, okay, you don't want to help, and you want to go out in a blaze of glory or whatever. Okay, you don't care if you live or die? Fine, I'm gonna go get a coffee.
Yep, he literally grabs a Rageaholic and kicks his feet up and goes, well, I guess we're gonna die unless you take the controls.
I have faith in you, Captain. You'll get us out of this.
Not me, Mr. Eddington. I don't know the Badlands that well, but you do.
Where are you going?
To get a Rageaholic.
Now.
Throat's a little dry. One Rageaholic.
You're crazy. They're almost on top of us.
One thing I will say about these replicators, they sure know how to make Klingon coffee.
They're scanning us.
They should be in firing range any minute now.
Very clever, Captain, but it's not going to work. I am not going to take the helm.
Suit yourself.
That is what you're trying to do, isn't it?
I'm trying to see how serious your death wish really is. I'm betting that it doesn't even exist. Just like I'm betting that you won't be able to sit back and let your friends start a war that could destroy the Alpha Quadrant.
His idea here is Eddington knows the Badlands way better than he does, and Eddington technically is the only guy who knows the base, the location of the base that they supposedly fired these missiles from. So I've got to have him take the controls, and the only way to do that is to basically beat him in his submission. So, ergo, Cisco senses, and I like how Avery Brooks plays this. He senses that Eddington is full of crap about something. He senses that he's full of crap, but he doesn't know what just yet. He thinks it's maybe just his vanity or something, but he knows Eddington's full of crap. He's pretending to have a death wish, and Cisco tells him straight up, I do not believe you have a death wish. I don't believe you for a second. And you know, that's good writing, because later on with the revelations and everything of the twist of the episode, essentially, that's actually really, really good writing. So he does indeed man the controls, and as the Jem'Hadar close in, they're kind of going over their options. How are we going to escape these Jem'Hadar? They, of course, Jem'Hadar fighters are really fast and very well armed, and they pretty much don't stand any chance. They use the pillars of fire. I forget what they're called.
Filaments.
The filaments. They use the filaments to sort of shield them from sensors and kind of block sensor sweeps and such, but they know they're closing fast and they've spotted them, so they have a plan. And what is that plan exactly?
They're going to have to vent their plasma exhaust from the engines, but to do that, they would have to take the engines offline.
Oh,
wouldn't that be nice?
That's where you're wrong, kiddo.
Yeah, that's where you're wrong, kiddo. Eddington points out, well, we can't really stop. I mean, and I got to sit here at the controls and steer the ship.
Yep.
So, good luck. Yep. Here's a wrench.
Good luck, don't die. He climbs into a Jeffries tube, and it's funny because you only ever see the very front of the Runabout, so you think it's just the size of, like, maybe a roomy shuttlecraft. And then he's suddenly crawling around in Jeffries tubes, and you remember, oh, that's right, Runabouts are huge. They're supposed to be gargantuan. Of course.
It bothers me every time. Every time. They only show the front, and these things are the size of, like, 2 RVs.
Yeah, they're supposed to be gargantuan. They're, you know, they're decent-sized ships. They're smaller than the Defiant, but not as much smaller as you would think, right? You would think that they would be slightly smaller than they actually are relative to something like the Defiant. But
they're very roomy, and they have Jeffries tubes. They have everything.
So the Cisco has to crawl on bended knee in the Jeffries tube and disconnect and reconnect a bunch of Raver glow sticks inside the little junction. But of course, it's rattling around, and I think Eddington is doing it on purpose at least a couple of times. He is being pursued by the Jemadar, though, and eventually the Jemadar actually open fire, and now the turbulence is literal turbulence. It's actually, you're actually being hit by weapons fire. And Cisco is immediately pissed, and then Cisco is immediately knocked unconscious. He does, however, succeed at his appointed task, which is to, reroute the plasma flow, or vent the plasma flow. And when that happens, a massive explosion and chain reaction is indeed triggered, and we finally get to see the Jemadar ships, at which point they get absolutely boofed.
Yep, they get taken for a ride.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of the moment in Babylon 5 when they like jump in a jump gate. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
And blow the shadow ship away or whatever.
Let me ask, what happens if you open up a jump gate inside of a jump gate that's already on?
Yeah.
Maybe you rip open this fabric of space. Who knows? Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it. Who'd be stupid enough to do that?
Right. Yo, dog, I heard you like jump gates. So they do indeed do that, and of course in the meantime we have kind of our B plot. Long and short of that is Nog is working up the nerve to confront the Klingons. That's it, basically.
He gets no respect.
It's a series of kind of comedy of errors of him getting ready to confront Martok, and then he falls off his chair and embarrasses himself, and then just now, after this segment, he manages to confront Martok, who is standing in the iconic spot on the upper promenade where that's Jake and Nog's spot, period. Right there in that corner. We've seen it a million times. That is their spot, right? And so he's going to confront them because they're being loud and they're loitering. So he's going to walk.
Dare you loiter where we loiter?
Yep. He's going to walk on over. I do love the little exchange that they have right before that, though, where they're, Jake and Nog are talking about, if I have a girl over, I'd really like for you to knock, and maybe, if you see that I'm with a girl, maybe just kind of peace out for a bit so I can do my thing, And Nog says, but you were just talking to that one girl. He's like, yeah, but you never know. He's like, actually, I kind of do know. You never get past talking.
God, the shade.
I know. But long story short, how does Nog approach this? What happens between him and Martok?
You're loitering, and I will piss and shit myself, but you will go to prison.
And
I'll harm you.
Yeah, he doesn't stop very short of pissing and shitting himself, I gotta be honest. But he looks straight up at Martok and confronts him, and Martok says, you're either very courageous or very stupid. And Nog's like, a little of column A, little of column B. And Martok busts out laughing and says, all right, Ferengi, but don't push it. And wouldn't you know it, he moseys along. And so a grudging respect has now formed between General Martok and, is he Ensign Nog or is he still Cadet Nog?
No, he's a cadet. He's still in the uniform. I think the whole purpose of him being temporarily put on security is like just part of his training.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, that then brings us back to the Badlands, and another really cool shot when they come out of the Badlands and they see the planet. And it's this great big, just vaporous. The implication is it's just the very air you breathe is a noxious fume. Not with 10,000 men could you do this. It is folly. Anyways, so they set down on the planet where this base supposedly is. Cisco says, hey, I don't actually read any missile launchers. And he's like, yeah, that's the idea. It's shielded from sensors. Don't think too hard about it. Don't worry about it. They set down on the planet, and it is the fog machine planet, apparently.
Yeah.
They are immediately then confronted by, you guessed it, Jem'Hadar, who have apparently already landed there. And not only have the Jem'Hadar landed there, even though there's only ever 2 of them in a single shot, they have apparently pretty well swept this little colony.
These barrels are made of duridium. That should hold them off for a while. I thought you said the Jem'Hadar would never find this place.
I didn't think they would. I was wrong. I say we rush them. In this fog, they'll have as much chance of hitting each other as hitting us.
Too risky.
You never would have made it in the Maquis with that kind of attitude.
It's not me that I'm worried about, it's you. If you get killed, there'll be no way to stop those missiles. Take this. I'll go around, try to draw their fire. You should be able to catch them off guard when they come after me.
I can barely see 2 meters in front of me. How will I know what I'm aiming at?
I'll be the one holding the pipe.
Attacking 2 Jem'Hadar soldiers with a pipe. That's a brilliant plan.
It could be worse.
I know, it could be me holding the pipe.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're doing patrols or they're searching for something.
Yep.
But either way, they catch sight of Eddington and Cisco and start firing immediately.
Yep, some great action here. Lots of shoot, and pew-pew. If you're a big fan of the Star Trek pew-pew, this is a good episode for you, actually. Lots of gunfights. And they're immediately pursued and what have you. They do manage to shake the Jem'Hadar. And is it at this point that they come across the hidden group of remaining Maquis? I think first they come across, okay, here's how entrenched the Jem'Hadar are. They've already kind of genocided the Maquis.
Yeah, there's just dead people everywhere.
And entire corridors of just piled dead bodies.
Yeah, you can tell that there was a huge fight.
A very DS9 moment here where film noir lighting, fog everywhere, dead bodies. The camera zooms up in a crane shot as Michael Eddington looks down at basically the consequences of his own actions. Beautiful, beautiful scene, actually. Like a really, really well done scene. And I do love, before we find the remaining Maquis, I do love the scene where they're about to enter this kind of, what is it, like a command area?
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of there's just barrels and refuse around, and they're like, Eddington's like, okay, it looks like the coast is clear, and Cisco stops him, and they've commandeered these Jem'Hadar phaser rifles. And he just blind fires like Rambo into the room, and pow, a bunch of Jem'Hadar who had been shrouded. get hit with the phaser rifle fire. That is, again, this is a very Cisco moment, bro. This is such a Cisco episode. There's the great moment. I mean, of course, there's the confrontation with Eddington in the prison. There's the discussion about the food. There's a fantastic scene that actually we kind of skipped over in the shuttlecraft, or in the runabout, rather, before they get confronted by the Jem'Hadar, but just after they detect them, where essentially Cisco is bringing into focus the fact that Eddington is about to get billions of people killed. Right? You are about to start the Dominion War, and I don't think you want the Federation to pay that, and I don't think you want that on your conscience. And they go back and forth, and if you want to watch the Cisco scream in someone's face, it is a fantastic scene. Oh my goodness. But anyways, that along with this, him going full Rambo, and then immediately they come across the remaining Maquis, who, were they being held by the Jem'Hadar, or were they hiding from them?
I think they were being held because this woman that we run into tells Michael, yeah, we were supposed to be a gift for the Cardassians.
Yeah, essentially they were going to be a peace offering to the Cardassians from the Dominion, and this woman is a little bit more significant than she appears. She is the woman who appeared on the original message, reaching out to Michael, but there's a little more to her than that, isn't there, Taryn?
Yes, he introduces her to the Cisco and says, "This is my wife." My wife?
Yeah, Rebecca Sullivan, who did not take my last name. We're very, very in love.
Captain Cisco, I'd like you to meet Rebecca Sullivan, my wife. All right, we're getting out of here. We've got a runabout hidden at the landing site. We can still access the tunnels through the old well. Stick together. Try not to lose each other in the fog.
Wait a minute. What about disarming the missiles?
Look around you, Ben. Does this look like a launch site?
Eddington, I want the truth, now!
There never were any missiles. No retaliatory strike against Cardassia. It was all a ploy, a way to let Michael know that we'd made it here.
This was our fallback position. But I needed your help to evacuate these people.
What would you have done if I hadn't forced you to come with me?
I would have volunteered.
What? But anyways, apparently Eddington is now married. A little bit rushed, but whatever. Okay. I mean, let's be honest. How many terrorists have been wooed over to the terroristic side by the promise of Poon? Let's be real. I mean, it's a realistic motivation.
It's gotta be high 90s.
It's gotta be up there. Let's be real. We've all seen the simps on social media. It does in fact happen. but I do like this. How do you feel about the wife being introduced here?
I mean, I guess it's crazy to think about. Like, was this supposed to be a gut punch? Was this supposed to be like just decoration? Like,
I think it's intended to give Eddington the human side that maybe some of the previous episodes didn't give him. Let me posit this. Without him having a newlywed wife, he could just be the guy taunting Javert, right? It could just be about his glorification. With this, there's a little something extra. There is a personal stake for him and a level of empathy and compassion that he doesn't have otherwise. It's so rushed, though, I don't think you're really given time to process it, but I think that was the intent. I don't know, how do you read on that?
Yeah, it just seems, it feels a little too late.
Yes.
Like, maybe if he leveled with Cisco on the shuttlecraft and said, look, I gotta level with you. The woman in the message, that's my wife. Or
what if Cisco had done his homework and found it out himself, confronted him on the shuttle to try and have an ace in the hole, right?
It would have, at least we would have gotten used to the idea, because I don't know if people realize we're at the end of the episode.
Yeah, we're pretty
here.
well near the end of the episode, because immediately they lead all of these remaining Maquis down the corridor, out to the shuttle pad. They are ready to go when, what do you know, they found some more Jem'Hadar extras. Suddenly, the Jem'Hadar rush them, and it's an intense firefight. It is a firefight, actually, now that you think about it. But they're returning fire. If you like the Call of Duty moments in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, great episode for you. There's some great gunfight action. Jem'Hadar are going down. There's phaser fire going back and forth. Eddington takes a blast to the gut or something like that.
Yeah.
And Cisco's trying to encourage him. Hey, we gotta go. We gotta get the heck out of here. Our shuttle's leaving. And Eddington, of course, the eternal desire to be the romantic hero, offers to commit self-sacrifice. We know what this is. Right. Yeah. We know what this is at that moment. This is a classic trope in Hollywood movies, and he's going to get his blaze of glory moment. That's what the episode's title is all about. He makes sure that his wife leaves first. As Cisco comes down the ladder and gets ready to go to the shuttle, she confronts him. Where's Michael? Where is he? And Cisco just says, "Bitches leave. We're going." And he hauls her out, and she knows what's going on. She married
the man, of course she knows.
Yes, I should also, mention they hardly saw each other in that entire time because he went to prison very shortly after. What did he say? Like, Eddington said we got married like 2 weeks before the events of For the Uniform.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, they didn't get much of a honeymoon. They maybe bumped uglies 2-3 times. Maybe. But she flees. Eddington stands his ground. I do like how he's pretending that there's a whole squad there. He's shouting to him.
Yeah.
Flank around to the left. Go around to the right. Does anybody know a good song? I do like that. I think the actor Eddington's actor plays that really, really well. And but before long, the Jem'Hadar decide they're going to make their rush. They do the Zerg rush, and he pops out from cover, and he goes down like Murphy from RoboCop. They ventilate this dude. There was some question apparently from the writing staff of DS9 what they should have done here, if this segment with Eddington's demise should have been played out in a slightly more elaborate Shakespearean fashion. But Ira Stephen Bear's logic was, well, you know, he's not a main cast member. And you are going to lose people if you linger on it just a little too much. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I think in Star Trek, it's more important within the context of the episode to build up a character. And then if you had paid that off at the end, I think the audience would have rolled with you. Personally, I don't think you would have lost anything, but I understand the logic. I don't know. What do you feel about how this pays off, the end of Michael Eddington?
Honestly, I think it happened just the way it should have. I don't think I'd change anything.
Yeah. He gets a solid send-off. We wrap up the Maquis plotline, sort of, if you don't count Voyager, and a lot of people don't. At least in the Maquis context. And he essentially pieces out as the hero he wanted to be, and as they fly off, you know, Sisko kind of gives a look over to Rebecca, and she kind of just looks dead ahead, knowing exactly what happened. Right? Knowing exactly what happened. I especially like the postscript here at the end of the episode where Dax and the Sisko are kind of talking over, so what the hell was Eddington? Right? That's essentially the whole point of the scene.
Yeah, Dax is convinced that he was just a romantic and he got to go out on his own terms.
Right.
And Sisko's still unsure. Well, you know,
he says he was.
At least he was loyal.
Yes, I love this line that he says where he's like, you know, he was a traitor and yet he was the most loyal man I ever knew, which is brilliant. He was just loyal to something else. Genius. Great writing, great DS9 stuff. Actually, it's funny, the actor of Eddington, one of the only things in an interview he ever gave about DS9 was, and this is common to a lot of really great shows, was he loved Deep Space Nine because the dialogue was great and the writing staff was great, but they were such perfectionists that sometimes he would learn pages of dialogue and then they would change the dialogue the day before because they were just making it better and better and cutting stuff out and adding stuff and whatever. And so he'd have to learn all new stuff the day of sometimes when he's about to get ready to film the stuff. And he's like, you know what? It was hard. It was like some of the hardest work I ever did, but you knew that as an actor, you were going to have something to actually sink your teeth into. And that comes across in DS9, man. You can definitely sense that there was a definite perfectionism on this show that, I mean, TNG, very well made show, especially at the heights of like the best episodes and whatever. I'm sure they did much the same thing or whatever, but this was just prime period Star Trek where they were just desperately trying to get it right. And I don't know that they ever got it as right as this period of Star Trek right here, where we're about to head into the Dominion War. We've got Star Trek First Contact. We've got Insurrection after that. Some good stuff is happening here. And I think you have to give it all to the writing. You know, it's funny. My favorite show, Deadwood. Same thing. Same thing. These actors, and you know Deadwood, because we both watched it.
Yeah.
There'd be these lengthy soliloquies that characters would have. You know, they'd be talking to themselves, or one of Al Swearengen's blowjob soliloquies, right? Can you imagine trying to memorize all that dialogue? Okay, well now imagine that David Milch, genius that he is scrapping entire pages of dialogue and handing you new ones the day of. Like he's literally going off to his trailer for an hour, rewriting the dialogue and handing it to you, and now you have to deliver this soliloquy without really memorizing it.
It's a very refined process.
Dude.
Like, they're not afraid to go back and change something if something else doesn't work.
Yes.
And it's respectable. That's what makes this era of Star Trek just so damn good.
I know. It's why DS9 holds up when you binge it. It's why shows like Babylon 5 and so on, it's why they hold up, is because there was something else behind them, and there was a commitment and a perfectionism to it. It wasn't just, and I hate this word has been ascribed to Brave New Worlds, Discovery, all the Kurtzman trash. Are you ready? Content. Ugh. God, I hate it. If you had called Deep Space Nine content in the mid-90s, they would have thrown you out of the writer's room. Folks, I'm giving this a rating of 5. I love this episode. This is good.
I liked it too. Like, I mean, I can't find anything wrong with it.
It's paced well. Action, drama, humor, great effects. Really great effects for the era. Some real... Oh, a fun fact about, we were talking about how great the sets were. Are you aware the freaking set is reused from Children of Time?
Oh, is it just one of the houses or something?
No, it's the whole set. They just painted it black and put a bunch of fog everywhere.
Oh.
That's it. They knocked out some windows, turned the lights down, painted the entire set gray or black, and basically, you would never know. If I had not learned that in the making of, in the Deep Space Nine compendium, I would have had no idea. You know, it feels like a higher budget episode than it is. Imagine how much money they saved on that. Like,
that's great.
Yeah, that's just good TV making, folks. And this is folks, if you thought Deep Space Nine season 5 was really rolling at this point, you haven't seen anything yet. One of the greatest episodes of Star Trek and Deep Space Nine is coming up next, folks. If you've enjoyed Deep Space Nine, I hope you're ready to meet Empok Nor. For Lieutenant Commander Gel, I am Captain Fist. Engage.
5 out of 5.
That's it. 70 decibels. They're mine. You okay? Fine. Just tell me when everyone leaves.
Why?
Because I'm not getting up until they do.